everyone, we just completed a remarkable road trip that took us 3,700 kilometers from Melbourne to Perth over 7 unforgettable days. This was our longest road trip ever and I can't wait to share every amazing detail with you. You might find it mind-blowing, but we actually traveled through 3 different time zones on this adventure. To put it in perspective, if we were to fly this distance directly from Melbourne to Perth, it would take about 4 hours and 10 minutes. In this video, I'll take you through our incredible experience and cover everything you'd love to know. The accommodation, safety, road conditions, stunning landscapes, attractions and sceneries, food, fuel, the people we met, and the weather. I'll also share how we felt about the trip. And I'll tell you how much money we spent on this trip. We started our journey on a Friday morning and arrived in Adelaide by the evening of the same day. So on our first day, we drove around 730 kilometers. The drive from Melbourne to Adelaide typically involves traveling on the M8 and A8 highways, which are well maintained. Fuel stations are adequately spaced, with larger towns like Horsham and Bordertown serving as good refueling points. Without extended breaks, the trip from Melbourne to Adelaide can be completed in 8 to 9 hours. Although there are notable attractions such as Blue Lake, the Sinkhole, Bordertown Park with its white kangaroos, and the Pink Lake in Dimbula, we chose not to stop at these sites this time since we had visited most of them before. Our main goal this time was to reach Adelaide and spend a quality time with our dear friends who live in Adelaide after a long time. During our road trip, we had a stop for breath test. They are quick and simple. Sunday morning, we left Adelaide waving goodbye to our dear friends. You guys might know this wonderful couple from YouTube. Their channel is called Don and Donna and I'll link them in the description below. Now, we have 5 adventurous days ahead as we make our way to Perth. About half an hour after leaving Adelaide, the city turns into open countryside. Rolling hills appear in the distance. Farmland stretches for kilometers on both sides of the road. This showcases rural Australia's agricultural roots. Hundreds of windmills dot the landscape. Their blades spin gently in the breeze. After driving for about 3 hours from Adelaide, we arrived in a small town called Port Pirie. It was the perfect spot to take a break, so we stopped by the waterfront for breakfast. The massive silos immediately caught our attention as they stood out against the skyline. There are plenty of silos like these along the drive from Melbourne to Perth, spread across the rural landscape. They store crops like wheat, corn, and barley, keeping the grain safe from moisture, pests, and elements. We saw a railway line running through the silos and it was impressive to think about how easily grain is loaded onto trains from here. On the other side, there's a loading deck for loading onto ships. I feel Port Pirie is a unique blend of industry and nature. Next town is Port Augusta and it's just 1 hour away from Port Pirie. It's the perfect place to stock up on everything needed for the journey As the last major town before heading towards Perth, it offers a wide range of supplies, groceries and travel essentials at a reasonable price. Beyond this point, towns are few and supplies become more expensive, making it best to prepare here. There are plenty of options for fuel, food and other necessities to ensure readiness for the long trip ahead. After leaving Port Augusta and heading west along the Air Highway, the agricultural lands gradually disappear, giving way to Australia's iconic outback landscape. Around 50 kilometers west of Port Augusta is the mining town of Iron Knob, where iron ore mining first began in Australia. This area is marked by prominent mining operations and open-cut pits in the distance. Our destination today is Minipah, around 300 kilometers from Port Augusta. Along this stretch, there are only few very small towns with sparse population. Some of these towns include Kimba, Woodina and Kainakuta, offering brief glimpse of local life in remote South Australia. After driving around 610 kilometers from Adelaide, we arrived at our destination for today, the Minipah Motel. We had booked this place before arriving. The cost for one night stay was 160 Australian dollars. The next day, we checked out of Minipah Motel and drove to Pildappa Rock, just a 15 kilometers drive on an unsealed gravel road. It's an easy stop and definitely worth visiting. The road was smooth and the climb to the top was easy. The views from the top were beautiful, showing the green cultivations around the area. Some people refer to this spot as Wave Rock in Minipah, though there's another more famous wave rock in Western Australia with more pronounced wave-like formations. While we were there, we met a friendly couple who were enjoying their retirement. They were on a 14-day road trip across South Australia in their small camper van. There are grain cultivations all over this region, but I'm not sure what this small plant is that's grown all across regional South Australia. If you know what this cultivation is, please mention it in the comment section for me. Today we have another attraction to visit. It's Lake McDonnell. It's located about a 3 hours drive west from Minipah. It's a pretty smooth drive, and along the way, there are agricultural lands and small towns like Seduna and Penang. Once we pass Penang, Lake McDonnell is around 15 kilometers away from the Air Highway. When driving further west, fuel prices tend to get more expensive. This is especially true in remote areas where fuel has to be transported over a long distance. However, we made sure to fill up our tank whenever we passed through a town to ensure we wouldn't run into any trouble without fuel on the long stretches of roads. We stopped at a little town called Puchera for a break. This town preserves old machinery and a workshop that offers a glimpse into the tools and technology that were once essential for farming in this remote part of Australia. Though small, Puchera holds a unique charm and a deep connection to the region's history. Puchera is also famous for something quite unusual, the discovery of the dinosaur ant. There's even a structure of the dinosaur ant here. We are back on the road again, heading toward our next stop, Lake McDonnell. It's a pink lake in Point Sinclair National Park. To reach this natural beauty, we'll need to take a turn from Penang. As we approach Point Sinclair National Park, the landscape begins to change. The air becomes saltier and the coastal scenery is breathtaking. Driving through this area, we notice salt formation shimmering in the sunlight, and there's also an industry of salt harvesting in this region. Thanks to its stunning contrast with the surrounding landscape, this lake is a popular spot among travelers, especially on Instagram. Lake McDonnell is famous for its two distinct colors that create an almost magical split lake effect. On one side, the water is an incredible pink, and on the other side, it's stunning blue-green. The pink color comes from a unique combination of salt-loving algae and bacteria. On the other side, the water has a different balance of minerals, it's normal seawater, which gives it that rich blue-green color. The contrast is simply breathtaking. Before we dive deeper into this adventure, we stopped at the last shop here in Penang. When I say last shop, I really mean it. This is the final shop for the next 1,000 kilometers. From here, we are entering to a pretty remote area with only a few roadhouses along the way. It sounds exciting and adventurous, but I have to admit it feels a little scary too. The feeling of isolation has definitely hit us. After leaving Penang, we enter the remote and vast stretches of the Nullarbor Plain. It's an arid region that spans between South Australia and Western Australia. It's known for its flat, treeless landscape. It is one of the most remote and desolate regions in the country, famous for its extreme flatness and unique scenery without any major towns. The sunset in Nullarbor is simply magical. The endless sky bathes in oranges, pinks and purples, reflecting beautifully on this open landscape. This breathtaking scene makes the isolation feel peaceful. By nightfall, we arrived at our destination for the day, the Border Village Roadhouse that is located just before the Western Australia border. By this time, we had lost all mobile signals and even the Wi-Fi connection at the roadhouse was slow, making us feel truly disconnected from the world. For this day, we drove approximately 712 kilometers from Minipa, including 60 kilometers of off-road driving to Pildappa Rock and to Lake McDonnell. One night stay at this roadhouse cost us 190 Australian dollars. We were exhausted, so after a relaxing bath and a simple dinner, we quickly fell asleep. However, in the morning we discovered that the inner bedsheet had been very dirty. We felt quite disappointed with the roadhouse staff over this. Because it was dark, we could not see the Boonda Cliffs last night as planned. So this morning, we checked out from the Border Village Roadhouse and drove 20 kilometers backwards towards the South Australia side again. Once we stopped near the beach, we noticed memorials. Out of curiosity, we spoke with a few people who were there, and that's when we learned that these were tributes to people who had died in car accidents or from natural causes while traveling through this remote and desolate area. These memorials, marked with plaques, crosses, photographs, and personal items, serve as both a tribute to loved ones and a reminder of the danger of traveling in such harsh, isolated environment. The long driving hours, fatigue, and vast distances between towns can be perilous. We hadn't known about these memorials before visiting the Boonda Cliffs. Seeing them brought a sense of sorrow for those who had passed, and we left the place with a heavy, somewhat unsettling feeling. There are strict quarantine restrictions when entering Western Australia. All fruits, vegetables, plant materials, honey, seeds and livestock are prohibited from being carried in vehicles. All vehicles are inspected at the border, so we need to dispose any quarantine restricted items before entering. There are bins located in the Border Village Roadhouse for this purpose. Our first stop in Western Australia was Eucla. We had planned to visit the Eucla jetty, but somehow ended up heading in the wrong direction and couldn't find it. Without phone signals, we were not able to get directions to the jetty. However, we stumbled upon a stunning random spot and had a great time exploring the white sandy area near the beach. Even though we missed the attraction we initially wanted to see, the untouched white sandy rocky landscape was absolutely beautiful. Driving through Nullarbor Plain was a truly unique experience. This road stretches endlessly with flat land surrounding us for hundreds of kilometers. This is one of Australia's most remote regions. Despite the isolation, there are plenty of spots where drivers can pull off the road and park for a break, offering a chance to have a rest. Additionally, there are caravan parks and petrol stations along the way. Toilets are available at regular intervals, either in rest areas, caravan parks, or petrol stations. There are meals available in the roadhouses, but they can be a bit expensive, with something like a burger costing around 30 to 45 Australian dollars. However, due to the dirty bedsheet situation, we didn't trust the food in the roadhouses. Even though there were no microwaves or cookers, we still managed to make instant noodles. As I mentioned earlier, driving through remote areas means fuel prices can get quite expensive. The highest petrol price we encountered was 265 cents, while back in Melbourne, petrol was around 165 cents. The 90-mile straight is an iconic road in Australia that we encounter on our drive to Perth. This incredible stretch of road measures about 146.6 kilometers of uninterrupted straightness located just after Sejuna. As one of the longest straight roads in the world, it offers a unique driving experience. The scenery here is truly stunning. When stepping out of the car and taking a 360-degree look around, there are vast skies above and flat land stretching out in every direction. The vast sky and endless horizon highlight the remoteness of this region. Fortunately, we are traveling through this area before the summer heat sets in. In the summer months, it's said that these parts can experience desert-like conditions with scorching temperatures and very little moisture. The landscape can shift dramatically, transforming into an arid environment that resembles a true desert. Driving west, we gain extra daylight, creating a 2-hour time difference between Melbourne and Perth. For this day, we initially planned to stop at Balladonia Roadhouse. However, since we had more daylight, with the sunset taking longer to arrive, we decided to keep going and drive to the next town, Norseman. Norseman is the first town we encountered after Port Augusta, where we truly felt a presence of people living in the area. This small historic mining town is known for its gold mining, which remains the major industry here. Since we didn't have any accommodation booked, the first thing we did was find a place to stay. We managed to get 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom apartment for one night at 170 AUD. We rushed into the IGA, the only supermarket in town, with just 5 minutes to closing, and grabbed a few essentials for cooking. That night, we prepared dinner and the next day's breakfast with the limited resources we had. We even managed to cook rice and dal curry in the microwave oven as there was no rice cooker or pots available. The next morning, we left Norseman. If we had gone straight, we could have reached Perth by the evening. However, instead of heading directly to Perth from Norseman in one day, we had plans to take a detour south to the town called Esperance. This decision added an extra day to our journey. After about a 2-hour drive from Norseman, we arrived at Esperance. This coastal town is often regarded as a hidden gem in Australia, known for its stunning beaches with pristine white sands and crystal clear waters. Coming to Esperance felt like stepping into a paradise on earth. We spent around 5 to 6 hours exploring the beautiful scenery. Places like Twilight Beach, Lucky Bay and the Great Ocean Drive were absolutely breathtaking with their fine white sands and mesmerizing blue-green waters stretching as far as the eye could see. The air was calm and peaceful, giving us a sense of peace and calmness. Every corner of Esperance seems to hold a postcard-worthy view, making us pause and truly appreciate the wonders of the natural world. We didn't want to leave beautiful Esperance, but eventually we had to continue our journey towards Perth. So we left Esperance and hit the road again, deciding to spend the night in a small town called Ravensthorpe, just a 2-hour drive away. The drive to Ravensthorpe was scenic, with canola fields giving a beautiful touch to the land. The mixture of green and yellow in this area was amazing. We arrived at Ravensthorpe Tourist Park, where we will be staying tonight. Tourist Park is a large open area with rooms and also plenty of space for caravans. There are barbecue areas available for guests to use. And to our surprise, kangaroos visit the park at night, which adds a unique touch to the experience. I think out of all the places we've stayed, this one is my favorite. The room here cost $135 per night. The next morning we got back on the road. We are now just around 512 kilometers away from Perth, making this our final day of the trip. Before reaching Perth, we have one last planned stop. On this side of the country there are mining sites, and you will see road trains passing by now and then. Train lines also run alongside the road, providing access to the mining areas of regional Western Australia. As we drive, vast farmlands stretch along the roadside, showcasing the wide range of economic activities happening in this part of the state. After driving for 2 hours towards Perth from Ravensthorpe Tourist Park, we arrived at our final stop of this trip. the Wave Rock in Hayden. Wave Rock is an incredible natural rock formation located near the town of Hayden, standing 15 meters high and stretching for around 110 meters. It resembles a giant ocean wave about to crash. This unique shape has been sculpted over millions of years through natural weathering and erosion processes, giving it a distinctive appearance. Colorful layers on its surface created by minerals and water following down over time. On top of the rock, there is a water catchment system built to collect and store rainwater, making use of the scarce rainfall in this region. From Hayden, we've just got another 3.5 hours left to wrap up our amazing 7-day road trip. As we continue, signs of civilization start to appear with small regional towns and expansive farmlands passing by. The roads towards Perth gradually get busier with each passing mile. Finally, after an incredible journey, we've arrived at our destination, a place we'll call home for the next 6 months. Now guys, let me break down for you how much we spent on this incredible road trip. All costs I mentioned here are in Australian dollars. Fuel was our biggest expense, totaling 825 AUD, accommodation for 4 nights, 655 AUD because the first 2 nights we spent with our friends, it didn't cost anything. And our meal cost 180 AUD since we mostly prepared our own meals. Also we spent 245 AUD on groceries and other essentials. In total we spent about 1915 AUD to make this adventure happen. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions or want to know more about our journey, just comment below and we'll be sure to reply back to you. Also, let us know how you feel about this trip in the comments. I'm so excited to read what you think.